Michael Killarney report. Now we welcome our guest, Dame of the British Empire, Dame Anne Leslie, which is sort of the most senior Fleet Street foreign Hackett correspondent.
Oh, yes, I'm certainly the senior. I mean, I celebrated, quote unquote, I didn't celebrate, my 77th birthday on Sunday.
And a very happy birthday to you from everyone.
Well, I was delighted with your email. Also calling me the grandmother of the century or something like that.
Grandmother of the year.
Oh, grandmother of the year.
Because you became a grandmother in the beginning of the year. Yes,
absolutely. And you know, I don't like little boys, and he's a little boy. I don't like babies, and he's a baby. But I'm besotted with him. There's something very wrong, I think, that you end up...
Well, I think that's human. Speaking of human nature, you have seen, I'm wearing the colours of the suffragettes.
I think that's gorgeous. How did you get some loyal little suffragette type to make it for you?
Well, actually, my mother's influence, you see. But we are in the centenary of the suffragette movement. Have women achieved what they want? Or we still hear with the BBC, the glass ceilings, and we're still not totally equal?
Actually, I'm getting a bit fed up with my fellow women, because it is so much better now, status of women, than it was when I was, you know...
Student.
Well, yes. But more to the point, for example, I was doing very well in Fleet Street. I couldn't complain about the salary because it was very good. But I couldn't buy a house. No. Because I couldn't get a mortgage.
As a woman on her own?
As a woman who was not married, and I went to everything, and they would say things to me, you know, some idiot little boys almost would say to me, tapping my shoulder, why don't you find a nice man to get married, and he'll do all that annoying paperwork for you. I did eventually get one, but it was ridiculous. I was getting paid more than most of the men on my newspaper at the time, but it was because I was a woman, unmarried, which is already considered to be a little bit, you know.
But, okay, so nowadays, what are you complaining about besides equal pay, is it become more political rather than social?
Well, social, I mean, frankly, I think these are all, not all, most of the women who are complaining, because I'm often on programmes with them, are spoiled little middle-class, privileged women. They don't know anything about how most women live. And it gets me so angry. And now, of course, I'm getting the usual insults. You know, it's because I'm a dame, you know, and therefore I'm part of the establishment and all that rubbish. And I'm afraid women are just actually making things worse for them. Because if I were an employer, I would take one look at any of them and say, no, I'm not hiring you, because you're obviously going to sit there, you know, pretending you've been terribly badly treated. But the other thing is that when I was sort of feminist, it was because I didn't like being described as a way of being a victim. You know, to be a victim means you can't help yourself and things like that. Now, of course, they start talking about them being victims. No, we are not. In the 21st century, we're not victims. Not in this country. In other parts of the world, oh yes, women are victims, but not in London.
Right, that is sort of a good point. Here is actually a message to all. Ladies, you are not victims. Go forward as Dame Anne did. Good point to take a break. استراحة قصيرة نعود بعدها إليكم. ابقوا معنا. والآن عودة إلى ضيفنا. Thank you for staying with us. We just been talking about Anna Sobri.
You know, my husband fancies her.
Really?
Yes, because she is certainly not a victim, doesn't play a victim. She is tough, and she's quite attractive. And I'm not very keen on her for obvious reasons.
Obviously, yeah, that's very good. Well, I thought it was a bit sort of odd in time when all women, because the Prime Minister addressed all women from both parties.
Yeah.
She comes out very strongly against the Prime Minister.
Yes, well, just because she, she likes showing off, actually. But I really feel that the Tory party are idiots because the more they go on saying how frightful Theresa May is, the more they're guaranteeing that Labour and the Corbyn and his lunatics take over here. There is a sort of a kind of mad suicide attitude at the moment by the Tories. I mean, although I think that the man with the hat.
Oh, that is
yes,
Jacob Rees-Mogg.
Yes. Now, there's no way this man is going to win the election for the Tories, and yet they are pretending that they might.
I like him, not because his dad was my editor, but I like him
Yes,
because,
I like him too.
Because we have very nice chats with him. He's got a good sense of humour, actually.
He's very funny, and I think, in fact, the funny thing about the English electorate, if you have a sense of humour, you can get away with a lot. Look at Boris.
Yes.
Boris suddenly was the most dearly beloved.
Yeah.
He's not so popular now because as Foreign Secretary he can't make too many jokes. So then now you have
Jacob.
I mean, anybody who has a sense of humour is a head start. I know the foreigners find us amazing because they think the politicians who crack jokes all the time are clearly a little bit loopy. And how can the English well, that's the way we are.
Well, I have to be careful then. You and I travel the same parts of the world. What about being rich? Here is the man, Soro, who actually made a fortune of other people's misfortune during the crisis in the 1980s and 90s.
And he's now...
he's trying to reverse the people's sort of Brexit.
Well, he has got the money. Well, I don't know, that more than I do about him. Because there have been rumours that, in fact, he's not
actually, I know about him because of politics, not because I'm rich or have any money. I don't, his secret plot to get rid of Brexit, it is actually very anti-democratic. I mean, I didn't think we should leave the EU for various reasons, but the decision was made. I don't approve anyway of trying to reverse it.
Yes, and I don't approve of actually referendums anyway.
Yes,
because they're the person who frames the question
can get the answer.
Yes,
they want.
I think it's. I mean, people who loved. I mean, Mussolini loved to have referendums. Is that a great example?
Yes, yeah.
No, I
Various dictators in the Africa have 99.9%.
Yes, I know. As you know from the part of the world that you're an expert in, that referendums are frauds.
Yes, but we joined the EEC 1975 referendum, so it was sort of obvious. And it was Tony Blair's idea at the very beginning, and then he welched back.
Well, I don't listen to anything Tony Blair says. He's finished.
Actually, he's very popular with our viewers, I'm afraid.
Actually, he's got a sense of humour, which I've just said, that you can't win anything.
And he can sell you a second-hand car without wheels.
Absolutely, absolutely.
And convince you to go to the races with it. And but speaking about money and the rich, we've just been talking about how the so-called snowflakes generation who wanted socialism, like this young man who harangued Jacob Rees-Mogg, is come from a rich family, spoiled brats.
Yes, they're all spoiled brats. You're not obviously going to offend your viewers by showing this picture.
Well, I think women viewers would like that. Yeah,
well, I've seen better legs on a chicken, for heaven's sake,
than on him. So that actually, his credentials is actually out of the window. But actually, going back to what the old girl's doing in number 10 Downing Street, is she doing okay? What do you think?
No, I never warmed to her because she didn't warm to me at all. I only was on 2 programmes with her, I imagine, and she
told me off last Christmas anyway for making a joke. Anyway.
Yeah, well, of course. But the thing is, she has resilience.
Right.
I cannot think of anyone who would have survived what has been happening to her and the attacks on her, and she has survived them. And I think if the Tories persist in trying to throw her overboard, they're not going to get anyone better. They really aren't. I mean, you and I know quite a lot of the people who would leap into 10 Downing Street if given half a chance, but we know they're not that good.
They're not that good.
No.
So she's the best we have.
Best.
Here you are, Prime Minister. You got the seal of approval from the Dame of Fleet Street herself. What more do you want? Dame Azizli, thank you very, very much for this delightful insights on what women achieved in 100 years. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you, Adele.
That's all what we have. See you next week. هذا كل ما لدي.